I taught catechism for many years, and I've had to deal with many teenagers on Life in the Spirit seminars, sometimes looking after as many as 120 in one weekend. So I am familiar with the mysterious logic of teenagers. A disgruntled youth who was chafing under parental restrictions once said, "They don't respect my freedom. I want to do my own thing, just like all my friends." Don't miss the subtle contradiction. He wanted to be free to conform to his peers. We celebrate 25 years of freedom and democracy in South Africa this year. The Gospel tells us that the disciples were sent to preach to the nations and then to condemn those who would not heed them. Shake the dust from your feet. A fate worse than Sodom, convert or else. What kind of freedom is that? Freedom is not a self-evident concept. It is more of a paradox. St. Paul tells us, in the same breath, be slaves of Christ, for the truth of Christ will set you free. Jesus said that he came to proclaim liberty to captives by following his commandments. Perhaps Christians are just exchanging one bondage for another. When Pope St. John Paul II visited St. Louis, he spoke at the cathedral ecumenical service on the 10 Commandments. He said, "The 10 Commandments are the Magna Carta of human freedom." The Post Dispatch is still trying to figure that one out. How does "thou shalt not" make you free? I've often thought about this paradox with regard to my own priestly vows. Am I truly free when I live under vows? Are those who wear wedding rings free? Yes, we are free. Because true freedom is the freedom to do the right thing freely. Any pretense of freedom which implies license or absence of all restraint is a false freedom, a slavery in disguise. To do the wrong thing is not freedom, but slavery to evil, as is an addiction, which actually destroys liberty. Anyone who struggles with an addiction knows this paradox of freedom. Alcoholics and drug addicts know it only too well. To a lesser degree, so do those hooked on caffeine, I include myself there, nicotine, chocolate. Once I say of anything, I have to have it. Yes, I actually love coffee. I have to have it. I am no longer free. Incidentally, such addiction can reduce and even eliminate moral culpability. The popular idea of freedom is not the same as the freedom of faith. The salvation offered by Christ is freedom from sin and death. The children of God are freed from slavery to sin and the eternal death of sin. Do not rejoice because the spirits are subject to you. Rejoice rather because your names are written in heaven. Such freedom from sin and death is not only eternal joy, but also an earthly liberty. The truth of Christ sets us free. It shows us the right use of freedom. And the grace of Christ can free us from slavery to our desires. Recently, in the Family Circus cartoon, the little boy asked his dad, "When will I be old enough to do as I please?" His father answered, "Son, no one has ever lived that long." That might be applied to faith. The eternal life of heaven is doing whatever we please, because there we desire only goodness. We are truly free when we freely desire to do what is right. A recovering alcoholic, for example, can walk past a tavern and say, "I am free. I do not have to go in there." That is true freedom. A cured shopaholic can walk through the mall and say, "I am free. I do not need to buy all these things." That is true freedom. And a Christian can walk through life and say, "I am free. I've no desire to do what is wrong." That is the freedom of the children of God. In the terminology of my teenage friend, I'm truly free when my own thing becomes God's thing. Then I can do my own thing, just like all God's friends.